Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello and welcome to yet another enthralling, exciting and powerful episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. It's always a privilege and an honor as your host to come to you and share some life-changing business information. As always, we do our best to bring the best of the best, and have we done that today? We've been so fortunate to have Mr. Dumisani Ncube. I'll allow him to introduce himself in greater detail. And for me, it is an honor and a privilege. And I was just telling him earlier that I'm literally starstruck for this opportunity to interview him. And you'll find out why in a moment. But before we get to the interview, let's ask for a small, tiny little favor. You see that little button there? It just says, it's just inviting you to put your finger there. So please subscribe. We need to have as much of you people subscribing as possible, and I don't want you to be among the many, many people who watch us without subscribing. Thank you very much for taking the time out to watch this show. And let me welcome you to the show. Let me welcome you to the Nuggets, Mr. Dumisani Ncube. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
We could get the ball rolling by you to sharing what I could call a condensed CV about yourself.
All right. So a condensed CV is one born from the village, typical village, thatched house, no electricity. First saw electricity when I was 10 years old. So I come from that background, from that village background where, growing up heading, goats, and likely I actually graduated from heading goats to heading cattle. So that was in the village.
Yes.
Then from there, got on at secondary school where I started my enterprising journey, selling pamphlets and opened a kiosk at the village. Then began trading in goats. When I was 16, turning 17, interestingly, I used to come here in Botswana to buy,
yes,
things from Francistown. Basic things like duvets and clothes.
This is in the 02, 03, 04.
Well, that was in the 07, 08.
Yeah, the 07.
Yes,
okay.
yes. So then from then on, began getting to South Africa. When I was 20 years old, founded a software company with two other friends called Glad Tidings Software Limited. And we had a school management system. Well, we still have a school management system, which is the most used school management system in Zambia, which allowed me to have a breakthrough in life. So from that, I then decided to invest in my childhood dream, which was owning trucks. So I then got into transport business when I was 22, turning 23, and I had these big trucks, these 30-ton trucks. Then at 25, founded TLN Technologies, which is a company that does smart cards. Now people, when they go to the bank, they'll get their ATM card instantly. So the machines that do that personalize cards and whatnot, and the system thereof is what we do. And I've done a couple of other businesses, but more interestingly, in the recent past, I created what is known as TLN Entrepreneurship Institute, which is an institute that trains people to become entrepreneurs. And this is coming in from the fact that I believe so much in entrepreneurship, and I would really wish to see many Zambians, many Africans succeed as entrepreneurs, because for the longest time we have been spectators in our economies and not participating in our economies. We've just been the tools of production and not the actual ones that own the economy. Yeah, so that is what drives me, and that is a snippet of what I stand for.
Wow, that's really, really fascinating. Academics, what did you cover, and on the academic or vocational side, what did you train yourself for?
All right. So interestingly, I wanted to be an engineer. So it was a a youthful dream to become an engineer, but circumstances led me to become an accountant. So I'm a chartered accountant in my undergraduate, then master's, it is business administration. Then PhD, I would wish to do entrepreneurship, which is, later this year. But I should be quick to mention as well that academics are just something that I'm doing for fun. I have never been employed. I have never gotten a job before, and I have no intentions of getting a job. But I'm doing academic stuff so that I can talk to those qualified people to say you can be qualified and have that degree, have that master's, and still be an entrepreneur. Because for the longest time, we've always believed that, you see, those that are entrepreneurs have failed, academically, and that is why they go the entrepreneurship route. So for me to convince, I need to do both, so that then I can say, hey, you are a doctor. Listen, I'm also a doctor, but you can be a doctor and a business person
at the same time.
So that is my point.
Yeah. So it's a form of experimentation where you want to prove a point.
Yeah.
For the public and for your followers.
Yeah.
Before we talk about your business ventures, let's first talk about your speaking career. How did you position yourself as a speaker in Zambia? And can you share a little bit of the highlights of that part of what you do? Okay, so I never thought I would be a speaker. In fact, I had no intentions of being a speaker. I'm one of those that believed, coming up that, you see, coins make noise, notes don't make noise. People with money don't talk too much. Those without money are the ones that talk too much. Those are the coins. I believed in that. I had no intentions of being a speaker. And to even make it worse, I grew up stammering. So the dream of being a speaker was far-fetched for me. But how did I get on to become a speaker? Two things led me to that. So the first one is that when I was 22, when I had, the tracks and whatnot. Now, see, I'm coming from the village. So having tracks at that young age had many people asking, how did this guy rise? How did he get to where he is? And guess what? Some people are then speculating, maybe this guy is a Satanist. I don't know if it is common here as well. Where people say, I've heard it, people say that about singers and people in the entertainment industry.
Maybe use juju, like such.
Yes, you buy powers or something.
Yes, people have such speculation. And it is not a Zambian issue. It is an African issue. Yeah, who did he kill? Did he kill a family member? And, so there was that. So that put that aside. Then the other thing that led me to this now was I went for a trip in Paris, getting at Charles de Gaulle Airport. So I had this lady asking me, so where are you from? I said, Zambia. What are you here for? I said, for a business meeting. From which company? I said, TLN Technologies. Who are you that side? I said, I'm the CEO. And then I'm just a 24-year-old. And this lady looked at me with suspicion. Like, I don't know. Then she had all these questions. Where's the invitation letter? Where's the insurance what and what? So I showed her. Then she requested for something I didn't have. And that was the bank statements. So I said, I don't have the bank statements. Then she said, well, I can't take you in. So we ended up in the hands of the supervisor. So they spoke in French. Then the supervisor asked for my bank statements. Then I told the supervisor, you see, when you're at a university, you have an identity card and a student number. As you enter the lecture room, it is unreasonable for the lecturer to ask you for your grade 12 results, for your acceptance letter at the university and whatnot. Yeah. It is unreasonable because by virtue of you having an identity card and the student number, it shows that you've passed through that process. Then I told him to say, you see, you are seeing my visa there on my passport. For me to get that visa, I had to pass through that process. I submitted those. I was interviewed. Yes. So I saw no need to move around with that thing. Yeah. But, he was adamant. He says, no, I'm putting you on the next available flight. I said, but you're deporting me. He says, no, I'm not deporting you. I'm just sending you back so that you can come with a bank statement. I said, no, this is... So in my head, my thinking was, this is how Africans are ill-treated, and this is how Zambians are ill-treated. So someone must stand against this.
Yes.
So I said, no, we are going to court for this. So fast forward, interestingly, they have a very interesting system where you could enter, and get set to go to court. So entered the court papers, and I was set to appear in court, in 3 days' time. So for me, at that point, It had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with Africans. Yeah, and I thought I was the freedom fighter to fight for that. So I was set to appear in court in 3 days' time. But since I could not be held at the airport, I then had to be taken to the Red Cross Center. So I was put in a police vehicle, people with guns in the vehicle, one vehicle in front, one vehicle behind, and sirens are on.
Really?
Go to the Red Cross Center. They got my phone, my laptop, and I was locked up. Third day, I appeared in court for the first time in my entire life. First time, I had no idea what happens in court. I appeared in court, and then I'd received the email of my bank statement. So the judge looks at my passport, and she says, this guy has an authentic visa to start with. The number two, this guy, the kind of money that he seems to make in his country may not possibly make it here easily. So he has no motivation to stay here. So that's how I was released by the judge. Immediately, actually. But by that time, the meeting that I was going for, people are flying out, and that's when I'm being released into France.
So you missed that opportunity.
I missed that meeting. And if you looked at my passport, the first time I entered France, it was not stamped because I was released by the courts. Now, a thought hit me. When I start at the airport, those who are coming from well-to-do countries, no questions. Oh, you are from America, stamp, no question, nothing. But because I come from an African country, these countries that they call third world countries, I had to be subjected to that. Then at that point, I then realized that, you see, being successful alone, and I was technically a millionaire then.
Yeah.
Being successful alone is not enough. We need a number of us to be successful. You see, a poor country is a poor country if the majority of the citizens are poor. So if we are to be seen to be rich, we need a number of us to be successful. Yes. So at that point, I decided that we need a number of us to rise to the occasion. Yes. So the whole speaking thing then came in to say, no, I need to inspire others to realize that they can make it. And at the same time, I then married it with what I'd gone through many years earlier.
Yes.
When I was called a Satanist, I realized that, you see, these people were thinking this way because poverty was normal. Being successful was abnormal. So if a number of people became successful, you won't call those that are succeeding names. Then success becomes normal. Wow. So that's how I became a speaker. In fact, I had no intentions of being a speaker, by the way. So I just began sharing on a one-to-one. Then from there on, a number of people wanted to talk to me on a one-to-one, but I could not have time to talk to everyone. So I said, no, well, you can come at such and such a place, and I'll be able to talk to you. And 700 people turned up. Then 2,000 people turned up the following year. Then from then on it moved into thousands.
I've seen that you do fill stadiums now.
I do thousands. Actually, the biggest gatherings of entrepreneurs in Africa, it is the gatherings that I tend to host. That is the biggest.
Wow.
Yeah. So
can you book me for the next one?
Yeah, I think that would be great. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
On a serious note, speaking, you are an entrepreneur who speaks.
Yeah.
You are not a speaker who happens to be an entrepreneur. In other words, entrepreneurship is at the heart of it. So let's go there. What's your understanding of entrepreneurship, and what would you say is the main ethos of the institution that you've established to deal with entrepreneurship?
My understanding of entrepreneurship, in a simplified way, it is taking on a risk with the hope of making a profit. It is as simple as that to the very core. Taking on a risk with the hope of making a profit. And what I have come to realize, and what I tend to push for, is if you have, the power, the wish, the drive to take on a risk, and you are willing to work for that, you are willing to put in the work for that, with the hope of making a profit, I believe there is so much more that could be achieved. So in a summarized way, that's what I could put across.
Yeah. And of course, entrepreneurship is not just about success. It's got setbacks.
Oh, yes.
Are there any spectacular setbacks that you've experienced that you'd like to share with us?
All right. Well, many of them. So 2010, I'm just, a youthful guy in South Africa at Park Station. When I was still trading in gadgets and whatnot, I was robbed at knife point. People just came in with knives, and they got all the money I had. Oh, no. The little money that survived was was in my inner pocket. But of course, please don't ask me which inner pocket. Just know that there was another little pocket somewhere. So from the little money that was in the inner pocket, it was enough for transport back to Lusaka with a little change. So from that little change, I decided to buy myself a white suit as a reminder that I was once a businessman. So I lost it all. Then from then on, in 2012, 2013 farming season, I invested in tomatoes, and all the money was lost in that tomato project. 24th August 2014, one of my...
You even remember the date?
Oh, yes. One of my newly added trucks, new, it had just come in. I was like, since I'm actually having this much pressure, can you just do this load of government maize as we are trying to sort out insurance issues? And the driver, loaded 8 unauthorized passengers who were badly injured, and the truck was a write-off, and people looted maize. It was a total loss, and a very painful loss. From that one, I have had many losses. 2019 in November, when I was making a transaction with one of my suppliers in the US. I don't know how they intercepted emails at the point of writing an email. Like sending money, they changed, invoices.
Yeah, they would just change the account number and then just maybe make similar name at the top.
Use
the same letterhead.
Same everything.
I nearly got hammered like that.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
yeah,
it nearly happened to me.
So for me, they hammered me $19,296. Then in the process, I lost $40,000.
Oh, US dollars.
Just like that. Yes, US dollars.
Which is about $500,000.
Yes. So in Zambian kwacha, it is almost $1 million. So I have faced it all. So in terms of a business, I've had many losses through. It has been part of the journey.
So how do you help a young entrepreneur to understand that failure is the other side of success, that you can't have one without the other?
Well, I think maybe I will answer it from this angle. How have I handled failure? I mean, amidst such downfalls, how have I still remained sane? So there are two fronts to this. So there's the spiritual side, and there's the physical side. So from the spiritual side, I find comfort in Genesis 1 verse 26. So God says, let us create man in our own image. Let us have him have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds in the sky, and over everything that creepeth. So verse 27, man is created. After being created, 28, man is given a charge. I give you dominionship over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky.
When man is created, how is it created?
No. Okay, so 26, God is saying, let us create man in our own image.
Yes.
And let us have him have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds in the sky, and over everything that creepeth. At that point, man is not yet created.
Yes.
So it is an idea. Then 27, verse 27, man is created. 28, after being created
as in, he has money, I'm created.
No, he's made. He's formed.
Oh, yeah.
So man is formed.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
Yes. So after being formed,
yes, I know what
man
you mean,
is then given a charge.
Yes.
To say,
with you, understood.
Yeah, now you get it. So after being created, man is given a charge to say, I give you dominionship over the fish of the sea, the birds in the sky, and over everything that creepeth on earth. Now, the underlining word there is, I give you dominionship. So man is not meant to own anything. You just have dominionship. Now, dominionship is just having control.
Is it like stewardship?
Stewardship. So man is just a steward. Man just has dominionship. You are not meant to own. So my understanding is this. Naked I came, naked I'll go. I just have dominionship. And that is why, even on your vehicle, I don't know here, but in our Zambian setup, the white book or the blue book or the vehicle book.
Yeah, we call it the blue book.
You call it blue book? You have, the owner, and your name will be there. So to change the ownership of the vehicle, I'll need to append a signature to say I now change ownership.
Yes.
But interestingly, I did not actually own. Now, for you to get that right, when you die, your uncles will sit and they'll say, from today, you are in charge. And you know what? the ownership will change without your signature. Why? Because you did not own, you just had dominionship. Now dominionship has changed.
Yes.
So when I lose, I don't feel like I have lost. I feel like what has just happened is my dominionship has reduced. So it doesn't beat me so much, it doesn't affect me so much. It is just dominionship. You see, I love nice clothes. You know, actually I love nice suits.
Yes.
So
This
most
one
of my
looks
suits,
very nice.
yeah, so most of my suits.
You're supposed to say thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. You know, Africans think when you actually compliment them, whether to say thank you or to say, no, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
So some of the suits you would find that is maybe 25,000 puller and whatnot. But here's the thing. So one time we're just looking at the suits and you're looking at the value of the suits in my wardrobe, and you find that it is maybe 500,000, you know, puller. But here's something interesting. Those are things that I believe that I own. But notice, when I die, out of all those suits, my relatives will give me just one suit out of those.
Yes.
One shirt, one tie. And traditionally, they don't even give you shoes. They send you with tokens. So everything else remains in the hands of others. Why? Because I didn't own in the first place. I just had dominionship. Now, dominionship has moved on to others. Yeah, so even issues of tithing, offering, and those things won't be an issue if you realize that we don't own. So that is from the spiritual side.
Yes.
I just have dominionship.
Yes.
Then from the physical side, I see it as a movie. I see my life as the movie. And interesting in this case is that...
And you're the director.
No, not the director. Actually, I'm the starring.
Yeah.
I'm in the movie.
You are the actor.
I am inside.
Yeah.
Not just the actor, the main actor.
Yes,
the starring.
Yeah.
Now, notice, if you've watched movies, you notice one thing. If it's an action movie, the starring goes up to last fight, and he ultimately wins. So you notice this. When the movie, so if it is even, or imagine watching a movie where the starring from the beginning is beating everyone. You know, everyone is beaten by the starring up to the last fight. Would you love that movie?
No.
So the starring, as it starts,
he has to lose first.
And actually, in fact, let me even be a little interesting on this wonderful podcast. So if it's an action movie, so the starring comes on the scene, then he will be unfairly treated, accused by people out there. And you who is watching, you even be very annoyed. These guys, they don't know that this is a good guy. You are forgetting that they were actually acting the movie together. So as it gets to the last fight, the starring just doesn't beat the opponent. He must be beaten first. After being beaten, he'll be lying like he's died. But you see, the directors, like you indicated, the directors will then zoom in the head of the starring. Then the camera will enter the head of the starring. They need to show you what the starring is thinking. They need to show you what the starring is thinking about, that grandmother who has beaten, that daughter who has tortured. Then after showing that, the camera will come out. When the camera comes out, the starring doesn't open both eyes at the same time. You just open one. Then he's still alive. When he stands there, he beats the opponent. Then you say the movie was nice. But you know what made the movie interesting? The falling down, the being beaten, the downside, the betrayals, the failures, and everything else. So in a similar way, you are the starring. So for me, I know that I'm the starring. Ultimately, I will win. So what I'm going through here is what makes the movie interesting. So if I beat all through, the movie will be boring. So what makes my life interesting? It is the down. So when I make a loss, I laugh and say, hey, this movie is making another twist. Wait and see. As I wait for the final time.
This is so interesting. Okay. So if the setback is significant, in other words, if it is financial, you have a way of handling it. But what if it's so devastating? I mean, I've had people go into bankruptcy. I've seen people lose their loved ones. Is it still the same kind of mental I think gymnastics that you play to deal with that setback?
You see, when you're in failure, the most important thing that is needed for you to rise up is your ability to have a positive attitude. Attitude plays a pivotal role in the success equation. If you are beaten down, there is no amount of money that would help you rise if your attitude is so negative. So if there is anything to keep positive, is your attitude. If you can manage that, everything just gets to fall in. So when circumstances are otherwise, just look at it from the positive side. It makes it easier for you to rise. So if the attitude is kept positive, and what is it that keeps the attitude positive for me? It is the same mental gymnastics. This is the movie and I'm the starring. And notice, it is very clear. The starring doesn't die. The starring goes up to the last fight and the starring wins ultimately. So my failures and my everything are just part of the way. Because I know that ultimately I'll succeed. So keeping that positivity has played a pivotal role in my success. So if I'm to encourage that youthful person, there are many losses that you are going to face. Many losses. In fact, there are too many losses to mention. Even at the coming in of COVID, in the wake of COVID, I made very interesting, losses. Just as a way of sharing, I create, this big project on a leased, property, and it's an institution of education. And list this huge property, and I'm paying hundreds of pull-up per month as rentals. Then just at the point of opening, COVID hits. Then all institutions are closed, so there is no income coming in at all. And you have this huge, workforce that you must manage. And at the same time, I then realized that here I am messed up. Then I tried to manage costs. So I approached the lease providers and say, listen, we are not having any income and you've been closed down by the government because, it is locked down. Two things that I'm requesting for. 3 months down the line. Two things that I'm requesting for. Number one, can you cut off rent just for 3 months as we see how we can reposition? That's one. Then number two, at that point, because the costs were too high, I said, well, if that can't be availed, then allow us to exit, the property, just as a way of managing the cost. Then they said in their reply, number one, we are not cancelling rentals. Number two, if you decide to exit, it is fine, but refer to the lease agreement. Then the lease agreement was saying 6 months notice. So whether we are doing anything or nothing, you must pay for 6 months. So you're in that kind of space where you've just started and you've not established yourself very well, and you find yourself in that. So this story is there all the time. You will face such things. But what you need is
provision. As a lawyer, I would think of a provision.
Force
majeure, and act of God, and things like that. That wasn't there.
That wasn't there, at least at that point. So you find yourself in such cases, but still you need to keep a positive mindset. And the positive mindset is what helped us to swim out of that kind of a scenario. To go online and all this other stuff.
When I was researching about you online, I picked up an article. I think it was a newspaper cover calling you Zambia's youngest millionaire. Is that a truth? And how did you handle that, being recognized as Zambia's youngest millionaire?
Well, it was interesting and quite humbling. Being that, at that time. I'm not sure whether I'm still the youngest because years keep moving. I'm now 33. But it has been quite an interesting journey. And it was quite humbling. And I think what was humbling more was when people got to realize that, this is a gentleman who is coming from a very poor background. This is a gentleman who is coming in from the village. And this is a person who is being visited in his office, by the cabinet ministers, by members of parliament, by bank CEOs, the biggest bank, the CEO comes to your office and you're having a conversation in your office, and they have to make an appointment, really. So I think it is quite humbling. Quite humbling. And you see this young guy, when he visits certain countries, he's being welcomed by the cabinet ministers, by the vice president and whatnot. So it has been a very humbling a story. And more so, it has been quite inspirational to the young ones, realizing that, hey, I think I can also rise.
This man looks to like the top. Me
as well. Yes. He was born at the village. He stayed in compounds and whatnot. I think for me, the biggest achievement or something that has really made me so proud by God's grace is to impact others and let them know that, it is possible to make it. I think for me, that has been the biggest win.
Okay. For me, I'd like you to share a very tickling story that you shared last night on how you tickled the goats. That is so funny. Please just share with my audience the story of you ending up tickling goats.
All right. So I start my journey at a secondary school selling pamphlets. Then I open a kiosk at my village selling simple basic things. From that, I move on to, trading in goats. So I come from a village. So what I then began doing was I would then buy goats from a village to sell in Lusaka. And then I was just about, 15. Then I realized that getting into deeper villages, you see, villages are also in levels. I come from a village, then I would get to the village to buy gods. Yes. So then I realized that villagers loved barter system, where you take their needs, address their needs, then they give you gods. So what I would then do is that I would get, on a bicycle, leave my village, say at 4 a.m., ride into deeper villages, get there by, 9 a.m., exchange my bicycle with gods. So an average bicycle would give me an average of 4 or 5 gods, depending on the size of gods. Then I would then have to walk with those gods from the deeper villages, a journey that I would start off, say, at 10 a.m., walking, getting to my village the following morning at 1 a.m. So now that is continuous walking. By the time I get to my village, I would literally feel the heartbeat from under my feet. I don't know if you've ever been in a space where after walking for a long distance, you put your feet this way. Yeah. You literally feel, blood flowing. And you see goats are very energetic. Zambian goats are very energetic. I don't know about your goats here. Same. Yeah, those things. So the first half of the journey, they are running from one end of the road to the other. So you are running after them. Then the second half, they get tired. They start sleeping on the road. So, I tried whipping them. It wasn't working. Tried pushing, it wasn't working. Till I devised a way. So what I would do is that I would tickle these goats. When I tickle them, they would then be re-energized for 30 minutes before they start sleeping.
Nobody knows that. That's a miracle.
But of course, my leader, you don't have to ask me where I used to tickle and how I used to tickle.
I won't ask you.
Just know that I used to tickle them. When I tickle them, they would be re-energized. So it was a very interesting journey. But that taught me one thing. That called for serious hard work. So hard work is inevitable in the equation of success. So if you are to succeed, you need to put in the hard work. You need to put in the hours. And I hear people talk of, smart work and whatnot. You see, smart work and hard work are not mutually exclusive. So maybe that might be a tough word for some. So smart work and hard work don't work separate, such that if you're working smart, then you can't work hard. You can work hard and smart at the same time. Just to give an example, you have a very nice building here.
Thank you.
So let us take it that you are moving bags of cement from that other building that side. That APSA building. So let us assume that trucks can't reach here.
Yes.
So you need to move bags of cement from there to this place. So in a day, if you are working hard, as you carry the bags of cement, you carry maybe from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the afternoon, you carry 100 bags, on your head. You are working hard, so you've carried 100 bags. So if you decide to work smart, you then realize that, no, I don't need to carry on my head. What I need is a wheelbarrow or something that can help me move faster. Now, that is working smart because per load, you carry maybe 5 bags or 10 bags. So now what you realize is this. As you move with the wheelbarrow from that building to here, you carry, 100 bags from 8 a.m. By 10 a.m., you are done with those 100 bags. So if you're working smart, you then knock off at 10 a.m. and say, no, I have done the 100 bags, so I have worked smart. But if you're working smart and working hard, you continue up to 5 p.m. By doing that, you are then going to carry 1,000 bags. So you've moved from carrying 100 bags where you are working hard, but by working hard and working smart, you are now carrying 1,000 bags in a day.
In the same time frame.
So what am I putting across? You should then be able to work hard and work smart. By doing that, you are going to achieve so much more.
Profound.
As such, I would highly encourage you to continue sharpening your skills in working smart. So working smart doesn't end to say, now I'm working smart.
No.
You need to continue sharpening that sphere of working efficiently so that you can achieve even so much more in a limited space of time.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen to that. You are here in BW, aka Botswana. What is the purpose of you coming to BW?
I was invited by Broadhurst Church to share on entrepreneurship. It is the second time that I'm actually here. The first time was in 2018.
I was privileged to be in the audience.
Oh, you were there? Ah, great.
GIEC.
Yes, so I was there for 1 week. Yes, Jesse, yes. I was there for 1 week.
GICP, Gaborone International Conference Center.
Yes.
GICC.
Yes. So I was there for 1 week, and this time around I'm here for 3-4 days just to share on entrepreneurship. Well, it is something that I love. It's something that I'm passionate of, and it's such a pleasure to be back here and to share on entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Okay. How does one achieve greatness? A lot of people aspire to greatness. I, for instance, want to achieve greatness. How does one achieve greatness? Are you able to answer that question?
Well, that's a tough question because there are many factors that add on to one achieving greatness. There are so many factors that add on to one achieving their full potential. So to start with, I would say hard work has to be there, and this is something that a number of people fail to realize. I shouldn't kid this. Human beings, by our natural disposition, we are lazy. We want to get as much as we can for doing so little. It's our natural disposition. So we need to realize that by our natural disposition, we are lazy. So those that fight this natural positioning of being lazy are the ones that then get to achieve so much more. If you asked a number of people, even the people that are in this room, if you had all the money that you need, you can spend $1 million every day, and your money won't finish in your lifetime, and your children won't be able to finish it, and your children's children won't be able to finish it if you're spending $1 million every day. Would you be waking up at 04 to prepare for work? The answer more often than not is that, why?
Why should I get
Why should I? Yeah. Why? Because we work because we want to attain a certain lifestyle, or at least we want to maintain the lifestyle that we have. That's why people wake up at 04, at 05 to prepare for work. Why? Because this issue of working is not so natural to us. We do it because of that. So now realizing that everyone is positioned this way, now you need to realize that if you are to stand out, then you must fight this laziness. Yes, so hard work is indispensable. So that's the starting point.
Yes.
Number 2, you need to figure out your unique positioning. What is it that you are good at? And what is it that you are going to offer the world? There is no business that I can say, no, this business is extremely great. In this business, you are going to make it. There are many businesses that you can do. What you just need to realize is, what are you good at? What are you naturally good at? There are people that are succeeding as speakers, just speakers. They are succeeding in that. They are able to leverage on their brand. They are able to position themselves just speaking. Others it is cooking. Others it is what? Others it is. So just find what you are so good at. Just everyone has this natural talent that they have. If you can find your natural positioning, you may be positioning yourself for greatness. And I shouldn't kid that if you can identify that thing that you are naturally good at, sharpen it, package it so well, there are very high chances that you are going to rise to the top. There are people who have a natural positioning for something, but they fail to brand themselves. There are people who are good architecture engineers, but they fail to brand themselves. As such, they end up being mediocre. There are lawyers who are very sharp, and that is why you find that, in school you find this lawyer was so good, very good, but they failed to brand themselves. As a result, they can achieve, they can survive, but they can't achieve exponentially great. So you need to identify that and see how you position yourself in that particular thing.
Okay.
Yes, you wanted to say something on that.
Yeah, no, I wanted to, when you gave an example of lawyers who don't get anywhere. I'm thinking of a book by Kiyosaki where he says why C students hire A students.
Oh, yeah.
So there is a dynamism there that has something to do with great intelligence, sometimes coming with arrogance or inability to expand and to actually operate outside your limited lane, as it were. So maybe you can expound on that.
Well, you've said it well. I think this is something that people have been trying to actually explain on the different types of intelligence. For the longest time, we've paid so much attention to IQ, which is the same one that then helps you in terms of, get good grades and whatnot and all that. But there are other forms of intelligence that are extremely important. Yes, emotional intelligence, the EQ, the SQ, social intelligence, and many other cues that are there. You see, there are people who leverage on the fact that they can network so well. You bring them in this room, they come out as friends to everybody. You need to realize that your network is your net worth. So if I can make you feel some kind of way, there's a chance that you might end up giving me rent-free, space here, for my business. Why? Because it is just emotional intelligence. I am able to captivate you, not in a crooked way, but you make people feel comfortable around you. You make it easier for people to want to invest in your ideas. You make it easier for people to want to go out of their way for your sake. So now you would have this person who is very sharp, very intelligent. They can memorize things and regurgitate them, and they can do and they get straight A's. But their EQ is so poor, their social, quotient is so poor, and as a result, they can't just, convince other people. And this is the strange thing that some have failed to properly harness. And that is why you realize not even in business, even just rising the corporate ladder, it is not the hard skills, the calculations and the whatnot. It is the soft skills that make people stand out. When you are given an opportunity to give a PowerPoint presentation, how you flow, how you speak, how you captivate, your bosses and everyone, you find that this guy is able to rise the ranks, but is not the most technical guy. It is simply because he has these social skills. How to write an email, just those simple basic things. How do you sign out in an email? How do you, pick out your call and hang out a call? Those social skills play a pivotal role in your success as an individual. So it is very, very important to truly build on that. Even just the simple thing that you're talking about. While you're talking here, there's a guy who talked, trying to invite you for a speaking engagement.
Yeah.
Those are simple things that people should take keen interest in, just to build your speaking skills. And be able to articulate issues. There are people who are so intelligent, but give them to articulate those things. They can't. Yeah.
So is a communication as a central ingredient in achieving greatness?
Well, it is. We are social beings. So your ability to communicate with others plays a pivotal role. It plays a pivotal role. If you can communicate so well with clarity and people can be able to understand what you're trying to put across, oh wow, it plays in so much. Yes, it plays. In fact, even for most organizations, there are organizations that would have a great offering, great technology and whatnot, but if you can't communicate so well, you can't talk to the emotions of the people that you're trying to sell to, then you can't sell.
I read about Warren Buffett saying that everything changed for him after he did a course by a certain Dale Carnegie on communication, on public speaking. He says once he learned public speaking, everything exploded for him.
Well, you see, public speaking has opened many doors for many. It has led people becoming presidents just through public speaking and communication. In fact, some have even led others to begin thinking, in a wrong way, because this guy can communicate so well in a wrong way. I mean,
like Hitler.
Oh, and interestingly, that's the name that was coming through my head. Hitler. He just convinces people that, you see, we are a special people. We are a special breed. We are a special what. And everyone just believes in him and they follow him wholeheartedly.
Off the cliff, as it
off
were.
the cliff. Yes. Actually, it was. I don't know how true. Maybe you can as well confirm this. Because some of these stories, when they come out, they may not be so confirmed. It was a way that he convinced his generals that the failure to conquer should. Is as good as you killing yourself, and that is why the generals ended up just killing themselves because they were inspired. They were so moved.
They were totally devoted.
Totally devoted. Yes, and it was all communication actually. Totally communication. So
speaking of leadership, recently, I think a year or two ago, the baton changed in the leadership of Zambia, where we have Double H, who happens to be a Seventh-day Adventist believer. What is your take on the new leadership? Because what I noticed as a business person is already the Kwacha itself, within a short space of months, of time, the Kwacha, became normalized, and it wasn't under the same inflationary pressures that it was, and it got closer to the US dollar just by the change of leadership. As a person who's probably, I would say, is in the front row seat watching what's happening, what would you say about this change of leadership, and how do you feel about it going forward?
All right. So I should indicate that it felt like a breath of fresh air, because then there was this natural feeling that a number of things are now going to be made straight, because you see, HH is one who achieved so well as an individual, leading in boards, like leading boards for banks, as early as 30, as a board chairperson, as a young guy, and he's believed to be the richest Zambian, and not just the richest, but one who seemed to have this level of integrity and whatnot. So what that brought to the table, it brought in an aura of sanity, thinking, this guy is going to come in and make things straight, there will be integrity and whatnot. Now, you need to realize how, how the economy works. It is premised on many facets, but one of the key facets is the one of confidence. So when there is investor confidence, more people tend to come in to want to invest, and there then comes in a feeling that people get tenders and business on merit, and so now because of that, it then brought in this confidence, and
it didn't take long.
No, it didn't take long. No. You see, confidence just comes in. People watch. It's like, okay, so now there is this new guy. I think with this guy, our investment is safe. So it naturally just comes in that way. And that's how all these issues of exchange, just come in. It is just an issue of confidence. It is like immediately there is a rumor of war in a country. Whether there's a war or no war, but if there's a rumor of war in a country, instantly the currency gets to be affected. It is just an issue of investor confidence. It is an issue of risk, management. So in this case, a number of people have had confidence in this man. Has he delivered?
But does it translate on the ground?
Has he delivered?
Yes.
That's another question. I think he's trying his best. He's trying his best. But my personal take, the radical way, politicians come and go. The challenges that our countries face, and this cuts across, go beyond politicians. The people that will change our nations, my personal take, it is not politicians. It is we the people.
Especially entrepreneurs.
It is we the people. The problem that we seem to have, we seem to put so much faith in politicians. And this is the problem I have across Africa. We put so much faith in politicians. Our problems are too big to be left in the hands of politicians. Our problems are too huge to be left in the cabinet of 20, 30 people, depending on the country that you're coming from. They're just too big to be left in those few people. The challenge that we seem to have is that also the politicians seem to give this feeling to the people that they are coming to sort out the issues. Let me say this. it is not the politicians. By the way, it is not even the role of the politicians to curb unemployment. It is the role of the entrepreneurs to curb unemployment. Can the politicians, can the government employ? Yes, it can employ. The role of the government is to create an enabling environment for entrepreneurs to flourish. Their role ends there. It is the entrepreneurs then to curb unemployment and bring about national development. But then the question is, can the government employ? Yes, it can employ. So when the government employs teachers, it is to make sure that you have an educated population.
Yes.
So that entrepreneurs can employ educated people. When the government employs health workers, it is not to curb unemployment. It is to make sure that we have a health population so that entrepreneurs can employ healthy people. When they employ police and the soldiers, it is to make sure that we have law and order so that entrepreneurs can flourish. It is yourself and myself, one employing 10, one employing 50, one employing 500. We are the ones to curb unemployment. And I can give it as a case. If you looked at countries that have excelled, very rich countries, you'll find that they have lamentably failed to curb unemployment. They have the money. They have lamentably failed to curb unemployment. Case in example, Luxembourg. If you are not employed in Luxembourg, you will get as much as 94% of what you should have been getting if you are employed. So if you are supposed to get 10,000 pula a month and you are not employed, they will pay you, the government will pay you 9,400 for not being employed. So they have the money, but they have failed to curb unemployment. So as a result, they are paying you for doing nothing. Why? Because curbing unemployment is not as is. So most big countries call this, a social security. It has many different names. It has many different names. But it just says one thing.
It's a welfare state.
Yes, but at the basic line of it, it just underscores one thing. They have failed to give you a job and you're being paid for not being employed. So we in Africa, we don't have the money to pay you. And that is why we are not being paid for being unemployed. It is just a simple thing. The government cannot curb unemployment. If those governments had a way of curbing unemployment, they would give you a job. They are already paying you in the first place. Why not give you a job? They have nowhere to employ you from. So that's why you are being paid for doing nothing.
Very interesting.
So we have a big role as citizens. But we don't realize that we have this role. We still think, no, the government must look into our issues. No, these politicians. Now, you need to understand this, and if I'm to even get a little radical, there is no excuse.
That's the reason they call you the radical entrepreneur. Stay radical.
You see, your success and your failure is 100% your responsibility. 100% your responsibility, and you need to realize that 100% your responsibility. Every excuse that we give for our failure expires. No matter how authentic an excuse may be, it expires. I sympathize I think, let me even look at the camera. Is that my camera?
Yes.
Listen, I sympathize with you if you are an orphan. If your parents died when you were young, I sympathize with you. If life has been tough, I sympathize with you. If that aunt has been troubling you, I sympathize with you. I sympathize. Even as that is authentic. It is authentic, yes. I'm an orphan, it is authentic. But even as it is that authentic, that excuse is going to expire. You are going to grow. You can't be 40 years old and keep saying, I'm an orphan. That is going to expire. Not even an excuse of the economy. That too expires. Imagine your grandfather coming and saying, you see, I am poor because the economy of Botswana in 1972, you should have been there. In as you may not respond to your grandfather, but in your heart you say, Grandpa, if you have nothing to say, you keep it quiet. Why? Because not even the excuse of the economy holds.
That's so true.
Your success is 100% your responsibility. So this issue of blaming, politicians must come to an end.
And blaming the economy.
Must come to an end. You need to realize that, you'd have people born in the same house, same father, same mother, same food, same everything. One becomes successful and the other one doesn't.
Yes.
Why? Because your success is 100% your responsibility.
Absolutely.
So you change presidents.
Yeah.
You change presidents.
Yeah.
Others will succeed, others will remain the same.
Yeah.
So it's either you give results or give excuses. What are you choosing to do?
What is the role of faith? If I can just change the subject slightly. I mentioned the fact that your president is a man of faith, but now I'm pivoting a little bit to talk about faith in general. What is the importance or role of faith in business?
All right, so you need to believe in something. You need to believe. A human being is meant to believe in something higher than us. And that is why others just believe in some superpower somewhere. Others, would believe in a tree. It's just, faith. Others would believe in something, made up. Is it an elephant? And they worship it. It is just that as human beings, there's this natural craving for something higher than us, for powers higher than us. For some of us who are Christians, we believe that, no, there's God, and that fuels a certain part of us. So what does faith, play in the equation of success? You see, when things are tough, you kneel down for us who are Christians and say, God, I'm in this mess and this thing. After praying, there's a way I feel, relieved.
It's almost like you're flooded.
Yes, you've offloaded.
Yeah.
So it plays, a pivotal role. Mm-hmm. So if I would highly advise and encourage, I would highly advise you to seek the upper powers, the powers higher than us. I think it helps us stay sane as human beings. But in our case, I believe in God. And that has helped, me to remain sane and to remain focused.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, as well, I should indicate that there is need to have this hope, this faith that things will be fine. You can lose many things. You can lose.
Is that a positive mental attitude? Is that optimism you're talking about?
Yes, optimism. Yeah. You need this fire. This drive. You see, you can lose many things. You can lose money. You can lose talented employees. You can lose many things in business. But if you lose this one thing, you're done. And that is the fire, the faith, the drive. The hope. That thing inside you. The moment you lose it, you're done. That is like the last nail on the coffin. So if you lose everything else, don't lose the fire. The moment you lose the fire, you are done. That is the end of it.
Beginning to remind me of Job saying, "My Redeemer liveth," after losing everything.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You just have to believe in something.
You just have to believe in something. Yeah.
All right. You've been in Botswana now, and it's not your first time. Are there any important insights or any important observations in the entrepreneurial space and elsewhere about the country?
Botswana is quite interesting. I'm seeing a number of infrastructures, coming up. The last time I was here, it is not the way it is. I'm seeing development, taking place in terms of infrastructure. And I believe that should be opening doors. You see, when there's infrastructure development, it says many things that may not be, seen outrightly. Like, take for instance, it says that there are some jobs that are being created, at least to build that infrastructure to begin with. It also shows that when people are investing in an economy, it shows that people have confidence in that particular economy. So my personal take is that I am seeing it to be, progressing. But I should indicate that if the leadership as well could bring in this euphoria of stability, togetherness, especially at the helm, I think it would be so great. I don't know how that could be done and how it should be done. I may not have the solution, but I can just encourage our leaders to see how they can come together.
You're talking about the problem between the current
and the
previous
yes.
Yeah.
No, that is not good. That is not good for a country. And how I wish, our leaders, be it the current or the former, just to see how they could come together, because that says a lot. You see, when the outside community sees that, they then begin thinking, okay, so how safe is my investment? And when your investment is not safe, when you just feel that, it has a huge impact.
There's just a feeling.
There's just a feeling. Whether it is consequential or inconsequential, that is secondary. But if there is that kind of feeling, it is not good for everyone. It is not good for everyone.
And of course, you and I cannot speculate as to how that problem can be addressed. It's beyond us, is it?
It is totally beyond us. My wish would be if, they could put their differences aside and, just come on the table. I don't know who could easily be the older brother in this particular case, but just someone has to do it for the greater good of Botswana. It is extremely important, yeah.
Let's talk about DLN as an institution for training entrepreneurship. Those who might be listening and they might want to be a part of it, in terms of what is the entry criteria and how does one take advantage of some of the courses? Are they accessible online and so on and so forth?
So the lessons are accessible online, and our take and our approach was this: we need to train people in entrepreneurship, and we need practical lessons on entrepreneurship to be offered by people who are successful entrepreneurs. You see, for the longest time, I don't know about this place, but we had a case where people who talk about business, who talk about success.
Worldwide. I can tell you, it's the same.
It is the same.
I've studied all over the world. The professor's car is always a jalopy. It's always a junk car. After teaching you about economics, he gets into a rundown vehicle. It can hardly move. Somebody has to push it. That doesn't make sense.
That's the thing.
The world over.
Yes. So now what we truly need and what we have is, a chance to learn from those that have succeeded in business. Not people who tell you about money, but those people who have the money and they'll tell you how they made their money. So we are looking forward to such a time when we would have, lessons from such people. And this is what the Institute offers. And the lessons are done online. So you can, join in at www.dln Institute.
You have to say that slowly.
Okay, so www.dlninstitute.org. Yes, so you can pick that up and you can get all the other details there. So you can learn from here. We've had many people coming to graduate, from South Africa and many other places. Yes, yeah. So I would highly encourage that you consider being there.
Are you focusing on specific areas that help entrepreneurs? Like, for instance, I can think of insurance and actuarial science. I can think of also computers. Is there a focused curriculum like that? Okay,
so it's more in the general space. So we have entrepreneurship as in general, the introduction to that, and the entry level is just your ability to learn in English. So you could have, you could be a business person who is already in business, or you could be one who is yet to get into business. But if you're looking at learning and understanding business from the bottom up, you can get into what you call the entrepreneurship package. Then we have what we call the scaling up package, because we have people that would be running a business 7 years down the line. It's just the same level. So those need then to get into the scaling up package. How do they position themselves and whatnot? The scaling up package. And we have the transitioning package, where we look at how do you move from employment to entrepreneurship. How do you transition? So there is a package for that. Then we have a package that talks about investments. How do you make your investments? Where do you make your investments, and how do you go about it? So those are the different packages that are there. Then on the side, we have public speaking, because we believe that public speaking has a way of positioning you well. in your space of entrepreneurship. Yes. So I think roughly that's what we have. Yes.
Wow. All right. Now let's talk the future. If you had a crystal ball to look into the future, 15, 20 years down the line, or even 3 decades, what can we expect in terms of brand Dumisani Ncube, maybe as a speaker, as an entrepreneur, and then the company itself, TLN?
All right. So for me, what I'm looking at really is to see how we could, how I could make an impact, a positive impact, an indelible impact on the soils of Zambia and indeed Africa. My take is this: we can make Zambia and indeed many other countries in Africa get to be first world countries in a space of half a century. Within 50 years, we can turn, the fate of our countries around.
2 decades, like Dubai did. Dubai didn't take long.
Okay, so.
And Singapore didn't take long.
Well, they took, case in example, South Korea.
Yeah.
So South Korea was arguably the second poorest country in the world around the 1960s. Not only were they poor, but they were struck in war, and not just a war between themselves and amongst themselves, but, countries were fighting there. It was the superpower of the USA and Russia, and, they were down there, and they've managed to change the fate of their country within 40 years to get to be on the top 10 biggest economies in the world. Why? Because one of the things that they changed was the issue of mindset. You see, our mindset is so beaten down. We don't think we can make it. We don't believe that we can make it, and this is quite strange for us Africans. This is something that really ought to change. If you looked at it, in fact, I was just sharing.
Because it never used to be like that historically. It's something that came around colonialism or post-colonialism.
Well, I would like to think that, yes. I think at the time of colonialism.
The reason I'm saying that is if you look at how Africa was pre-slavery, you'll see the great artifacts, the great exploits, and the great physical structures all across the continent, which show that people were imaginative and they were entrepreneurial.
Yes, they were. They were. The big change then got to come in when our friends, came in one side with, the Bible, and on the other hand, the gun. You can believe in this. If you don't, the gun comes in.
Yeah.
So when they came in, they preached very interesting, message that made us believe that we are inferior. One. They preached a message that made us believe that being poor is a blessing. Two. So when they're talking of being inferior, I believe, I don't know, here in Botswana, there's a message that you see the black people were cursed. I don't know if you've heard of these things. Yes, that the black people were cursed, from the... Now, what that does in our mindset is that from the onset, we are meant to be tails and not heads. And this was indoctrinated in us, and we so hold on to it, such that, to break off this, it has become so difficult. Then on the other hand, the message is that, no, listen up, you will enjoy in heaven. Here we are just suffering. It is okay to suffer here. Blessed are those, blessed are the poor.
For they shall inherit the kingdom.
For they shall inherit the kingdom. We forget that when it says blessed are the poor, it is not blessed are the poor in resources, but blessed are the poor in spirit.
Yes, so, it says that.
Yeah, so we have held on to certain verses, misinterpreted a number of verses. It was by design. So naturally, we are a people that don't believe in ourselves. It is quite strange. And that is why, giving an example, as I was sharing in Zambia, if we removed everyone from Zambia instantly today, we removed everyone from Zambia, Zambia becomes a very rich country. very rich, provided there's no human being. Everyone out, Zambia is a rich country. The moment you bring Zambians back in Zambia, it is instantly a third world country. Why? Because human beings are the poverty carriers. We are the ones with a mindset which is retrogressive. So if anything is to change, we need to change these poverty carriers. And it is the story here in Botswana too.
It's like we need a reset.
Sorry?
We need a reset.
We need a reset. We need a reset. So here in Botswana, if we removed everyone from Botswana, everyone, Mogobe out, everyone out, the camera person here out. If we removed everyone, Botswana is so rich. Instantly it is at the helm.
Yeah.
But put the Botswana, you call them Botswana? Botswana. Put them back, bring them back. Instantly, it gets to be a third world country.
Why do you believe it's going to take half a century, though? Isn't that a long time frame to change things around, to go from third world to first world?
Well, it is a long time. It is a long time. You see, to change the mindset, it takes a generation, really. It takes a generation. And that is why a journey for the children of Israel, if you're a Christian, it was a very short distance. But it took 40 years for them to get to the other end. Why?
Actually,
because
the ones who are carrying that mindset had to die.
They had to die.
Yeah.
So it is an issue of the mindset.
That's
so this
sad,
thing has to change. It takes a bit of time. But for me, the realistic one, I was looking at it, in 40 years. If we took on 40 years from today, we can change, the fate of our nations. We can get to the top.
Yeah.
So this is something that I genuinely believe in, and I believe something could be done.
Well,
changing one person at a time.
I'm hoping it could be sooner. I'm really hoping
that would be but you see, if all of us just decided that, listen up.
If all of us watch this podcast and we just collectively say, it's time. We are not inferior, we are rich, we just say these, I don't know whether you want to call them affirmations.
Yeah.
And then we believe them. I believe that the 10, 15, 20 years is
we can change the fate.
Yeah.
We can change the fate of our nations.
Yes.
You see, you need to realize one thing. It takes that spark to steer a revolution. If we go to a point where we are now like, okay, fine, we have come, our time has come, I think there is so much more that can change. In fact, in a space of 20 years, so much more can change. Like, take for instance, Credit Suisse brought it out to say China, 20 years, in 2000, they had about 38 millionaires. 38 millionaires.
In 2000.
2020, 20 years later, they had 5.3 million millionaires.
So it can happen.
From 38 to 5.3 million millionaires in a space of 20 years. 2 decades. So much more can change in this space. So we need then to rise to the occasion and say, hey, our time has come. Our time is now.
And it has come.
And we have come. And there's a mantra that I've been moving with, which is, we have come. And I tend to interpret it with this symbol, we have come. So then we say it in our local languages, to say tabwera or
tabwera.
Yes, tabwera. Yes, tabwera.
Yes.
Twice. And how do you say it in Swana? To say we have come.
It means we have arrived.
We have arrived. Yes, yes, we have come. So we need to then go with this thing to say we have come. As Botswana, we have come. So let us,
what is it?
Tabwera. Twice. Yes. You see, if we did rise to the core and realize that our fate, our future is not in the hands of the politicians, it is in our hands. So let us change this.
I love that.
I think so much more to be done.
Here's a chance for you to hit me with a question as we conclude our conversation, sir.
Where do you see yourself in the next 20 years?
Okay, you're throwing back the question at me.
Yeah.
We for the longest time been struggling to move from a multi-million pula company to a multi-billion pula company. We want to scale, we have made a number of efforts to scale as a bigger conglomerate, but we seem to be stuck in that multi-million pula space. And I am enthralled that you even offer courses on scaling. So we are not scaling the way that we want. And in a sense, when COVID hit, we slowed down our ambitions a little bit. So we want to crank up our ambitions. We want to put up a 20-story building in the space we have in front of here. We want that to be in existence in the next 10 years. We want to put multi-story buildings all over Gaborone. We have sites that we're going to develop. And you want to have the Mogobe brand being central, to go from being a well-known local brand to go to being a well-known continental brand to being a well-known international brand. So in 20 years, I believe we'll have achieved that. So I want to see ourselves more than 10xing, 100xing the company and the group of companies we have. That's the ambition I have for the next 20 years. I hope I've answered your question.
I love the sound of that.
Yeah.
I love the sound of it. No, it is well answered.
Okay.
Well answered.
Thank you very much.
And I would have wished to ask another question, but maybe just a request. And I'll say it publicly. We tend to have this big Africa Must Think conference in Zambia. My wish is to see if we could have something of that sort. So I'll make a request for a commitment to see how we can bring in, Botswana at one place in a huge gathering, just to push the mindset change. You see, as you could have seen the pictures from yesterday's event, that we do stadiums and
the
whatnot.
stadium was full.
Yes.
That's what, 50,000 people?
It seats 50,000, and the target for this year, though we did not hit the 50,000, the target for this year is 100,000, because just filling the seating capacity is not enough. We want to fill the seating capacity and have people on the running track and just take
maybe
it
we could
to
have
100,000.
Botswana and Zambians there and Zimbabweans.
True. But even as we are planning to do something there, I would wish to have something here. And I would wish you to be, a driver for this. There may be, I don't know whether there is or not, but I'm seeing you as one who should push the entrepreneurial agenda. Every generation has people who've stood for something. Especially in this case, we need a revolution. But why are numbers very, very important? You cannot have a revolution without numbers. Many people fought for racial equality in the US, and they spoke and they did all that. But the real change came in when there was that march to Washington, D.C. 250,000 people came together for one cause. That single event.
And that
is
powerful
the event.
speech.
And that powerful speech changed the narrative. Yeah. So in a similar way, people were fighting for the independence of India. It was only when Mahatma Gandhi took what is called the
millions.
Yes, in what they call the Soti Walk, where he had over 50,000 people get arrested. That single event is what brought the spotlight on India. And that single event played a pivotal role in the independence of India from Britain. So in a similar way, if you are to achieve this entrepreneurial agenda, it will call for yourself and myself to rise in our respective countries and push for people to gather for one cause, mindset change, push this entrepreneurial spirit. So my asking on your end is that let us organize something huge. When people come together, it underscores one thing.
Preaching to the converted.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea.
I love that.
Our government seem to realize this, although they've taken baby steps. For the first time, we have the Ministry of Entrepreneurship, which is a 1 year old now.
Oh, just like Zambia, by the way.
Yeah, just it's a change. There's a recognition there, and one of the driving concepts is a reset. So whatever we do in that space will dovetail straight into what the government is doing. But then, since we're entrepreneurs, we're implementers. We're practical. We get things done.
Yeah.
Government is an enabler.
Yeah.
So it can happen.
I love that.
It can happen.
I love the sound of that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Commitment from me is done.
Oh, great.
Publicly.
Publicly. I love the sound of that.
Yeah. Now, have a look at that camera and just leave the viewer with one encompassing, powerful message as we wrap up.
All right. I'll say something that I shared in the podcast. time has come for us to own up and man up. Every excuse expires. It is not time to blame politicians, not time to, talk about the economy, not time to talk about how tough your life is. Realize that you are 100% in charge of your life. 100%. And for the men, I think I will end by being harsh on men. And for you men, especially you who are married, don't traumatize your wives. You can't be in your bedroom and you are telling your wife on how the president is not doing that and how the president is doing that. You can't be discussing another man's husband in your bedroom when you are the husband to your wife. Get serious, own up, and man up, realizing that you are 100% in charge of your life. I wish you nothing but the best, realizing that the future is bright. This is the message from the radical entrepreneur, all the way from Zambia. May God bless you.
Absolutely powerful message. Now, share all your contact details, including on social media.
All right. So you can subscribe on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called The Radical Entrepreneur. On Instagram, The Radical Entrepreneur. On Facebook, it is Dumisani Ncube. You can just search for that, and you'll be able to catch me there. On Twitter and all the different handles, just search for The Radical Entrepreneur or Dumisani Ncube. You'll be able to catch me there.
Thank you very much. You've done a brilliant job.
Thank you.
Really appreciate our conversation.
My pleasure being here.
Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.